First, the well-documented problems at the Football Association, then the unseemly chaos at the Rugby Football Union. You'd be forgiven for thinking that we're not terribly good at sports administration. Well, now here's KC for the prosecution. An ungentlemanly row brewing in the heart of cricket.
Lords, the hallowed home of cricket. Wickets taken and runs scored here mean more than at any other cricket ground in the world. For players, having their name etched on the honours board here is the ultimate distinction. But within the offices of Marylebone Cricket Club, a row has been raging over the ground's future development. This was the £100 million vision designed to preserve Lord's illustrious status and ensure its future. A grand architectural plan including a new entrance, an underground cricket academy and 5 blocks of flats to pay for it all. But 4 years on, the recession has pinched and the plans have been abandoned. Most of the membership seemed relieved, but one prominent committee member and cricket fanatic was seething. Usually mild-mannered, Sir John Major was so angry, he resigned.
My decision to resign from the committee of the world's preeminent cricket club has been reached with very great sadness, and I wish other members of the committee well in their future deliberations.
MCC say only Sir John and one other member disagreed. But the committee has been criticised for rushing a decision without listening to all the arguments and doing so to avoid embarrassment. Why? Well, the claim is that back in 1999, MCC was outbid for a piece of land now key to the development. For plans to go ahead, the club would have to pay a large sum of money to the developer who did buy the land originally. The MCC begs to differ.
Well, I've been speaking to Lord Grabbanner, who was a member of the original Lords Development Committee before it was disbanded earlier this year. I asked him why anyone outside the world of cricket should be interested in this row.
Well, because there is a national interest in sustaining an outstanding cricket ground, sports stadium. This is a world-class sports stadium. And if this transaction or a similar transaction were to happen, it would provide really significant social benefit for the community at large, nationally and internationally.
It seems rather ironic, doesn't it, that in the year when London is hosting the Olympics and is redeveloping entire parts of the city, building new fancy stuff to accommodate the world of sports, there should be such a row about the extension of one of the most famous sports arenas in the world.
Well, it is ironic and it's rather depressing. And it's, I'm afraid, driven, in my view, by entirely wrong motives.
Apparently you've described the MCC committee that you are pitted against now as, I think the quote is, a rather shabby affair and a 19th century men's club. What did you mean by that? Well,
I mean, I think we all know that if you run organisations as if they were your hip pocket, ordinary governance rules simply don't apply. And when I say ordinary governance rules, I mean modern day governance rules where decisions are reached on a proper basis and where there is absolute transparency in the decision-making process. And I do not believe that that is what has happened here. The reason that they have put forward is the current financial climate. The trouble with that argument is that it's nonsense. And the reason it's nonsense is because the way that this was to be structured was that the developer would take the financial responsibility for doing the work and that money would go one way, namely into the pocket of the MCC. And the real point is that they are preferring their determination to stop the transaction rather than to allow the transaction to happen to benefit the MCC and cricket and kids generally and all the rest of it that I've already made reference to. And I'm afraid I think that that's because they focused upon the wrong issue. They're much more concerned about the ruffled dignity of them and their predecessors than they are about the current, genuine, long-term interests of the MCC and its members.
Is this another example of sportsmen and women being badly served by the institutions that are supposed to look after their best interests?
Well, in this particular case, I don't think it's so much the current sportsmen and women. What I think is shocking is the possible deprivation to future generations of the opportunity to play good quality cricket. There are young kids out there who would be perfectly excellent at the game and they don't get the chance because their schools have sold off grounds or because there's no facility locally available to them. If they can display real talent, it's possible that it could be organised at Lord's.
We put Lord Gravener's comments to the MCC. They said the MCC has always made it clear that the project was subject to both the financial viability of the proposed development as a whole and reaching an agreement with the ECB on the number of major matches to be played at Lord's in the coming years. The club has not ruled out any development at the nursery end in the future.